Good afternoon. My name is Isabella Mason. I'm a junior at Cypress Bay High School, and I just finished my AICE Media Studies AS level portfolio project. For this project, I worked with one of my closest friends, Gustavo Lance, and we created an alternative fashion magazine called Euphony. We chose Euphony because definition is to inspire joy, particularly through the auditory senses. This doesn't make a lot of sense for a fashion magazine because fashion is supposed to be an aesthetic, it's supposed to please the visuals, not the auditory. But we wanted it to represent how our fashion magazine wasn't just about fashion. Conventional magazines focus on celebrities, they focus on stories, they don't focus on the actual fashion industry. They don't give us a critical analysis of what it's like to be Black in the fashion industry, or how certain designs portray certain revolutionary movements within social activism and within fashion. But that's what we wanted Euphony to do. We wanted it to appeal to all the senses, not just the visual. And because we think fashion is so much more than just the clothes you wear. So we wanted our fashion to appeal to all the senses. Our alternative magazine was chosen as an alternative magazine instead of a more conventional fashion magazine because we wanted to have more space to break genre conventions, which is something that alternative fashion magazines do often. Of course, we still stuck to actually talking about fashion. We had models that wore fashionable clothing and such, but we chose to not only not use conventional models, so a lot of the people in the magazine are friends who don't exactly fit conventional model standards, but we also put more emphasis on the clothes than we did the people themselves. For example, both me and my partner didn't feature faces on the cover of our magazine. We chose to do it this way because we didn't want the face to be the most important thing of the magazine. Because it's not about the person, it's about the clothes that they're wearing, and it's about what those clothes mean. Our magazine is geared towards teens and young adults ages 16 through 25 who are interested in rising social media trends. These can be found mostly through websites like Instagram and Tumblr, and some representations of these social media trends are the art ho aesthetic, the e-girl aesthetic, and many others that you can see popping up through social media everywhere. We wanted to create a magazine that featured these as an actual fashion because they really are. Social media is the new platform. It is the new way that we are going to see our trends disseminated to us rather than through magazines and rather than through TV. So we have to embrace that in order for us to keep thriving. That's why we found it important to not just look at current uh, fashion trends, but at ones that you can find in the digital world as well. Euphony is a mix of the streetwear and avant-garde trends, which means we try and mix a lot of more underground themes with avant-garde, which is forward thinking, which is the best I can explain it because I don't think I've been using this word properly. Avant-garde means to look towards the future. It means to create something new. So by mixing these two elements together, we're trying to take in both the underground trends and also look towards the future of what fashion will become, which is a really big part of how we are also breaking genre conventions. Most typical fashion magazines focus specifically on what's trending right now. What's the point in that? It garners you readers, but it doesn't provide any critical analysis. So we want to look towards the future of fashion by bringing in the past too. And more importantly, the biggest way we're breaking genre conventions is because we focus on analysis that's often missed in more conventional magazines. More conventional fashion magazines talk about what shoes are in this season, and they talk about how Gigi Hadid dyed her hair blonde again. We don't want to focus on that. What is more shallow and vapid than focusing on a model who dyed her hair blonde, rather than giving us a critical analysis of different themes within the fashion industry, rather than talking about why Karl Lagerfeld shouldn't be exalted as a fashion icon because of his recent and past controversies. That's what we wanted Euphony to represent, a critical analysis. We wanted to write a discursive essay, not an expository one. Our main goal with this magazine and the way that I was going to engage in audiences and the way it would be distributed is to have it disseminated through bookstores, social media presence, and by using engaging stories. A really big part of our magazine is that we don't use a lot of cover lines. We want the focus to be on the picture. We want to present a clean aesthetic, which obviously means that it's not going to be a magazine that we can distribute through grocery stores. So we rather focus on bookstores, where our consumers are more likely to be able to sit down and flip through the pages. We're also a subscriber-based magazine because that is really how a lot of our demographic, the 16 through 25-year-olds, consume their media. Box subscriber services like Ipsy and BoxyCharm demonstrate that people are willing, especially in this age group, to subscribe to products if they're things that they're really interested in, which is why we're also going to focus heavily on social media presence. And through social media presence, engage our followers and get them to subscribe. As far as my production skills, I'm really proud of the magazine editor that I've become. I've become increasingly well at being able to use free software, in order to achieve the end goal that I need. Sure, it probably would have been easier to just buy something like InDesign and let all the fancy technology it has do all of the work for me. But obviously, that wasn't an option for me. I didn't want to spend tons of money on an app I needed for one project. So instead, I did my research. I looked around and I found different applications that I would be able to use free of charge to create the magazine. And I learned them really well, I think. I took advantage of editing software like Polar in order to create the aesthetic that I wanted for an image. If it didn't turn out the way I wanted, or if the lighting was bad, then I was able to fix that because I taught myself how to. In addition, I would like to say that my art direction skills, which for me means how you organize a page, how you create the overall aesthetic of a magazine page, have developed increasingly. At the beginning of this project, I can't say that I was particularly proud of the cover page that I made, or the one that I made for Gustavo's magazine. They were very boxy, they looked amateurish, and I couldn't quite place my finger on it, but I hated it. At the end of the project, I can say with full confidence that I loved what I created. I've already mentioned them, but I used Polar, Pixlr, and Canva as my primary software for this project, for editing and creating the magazine. I use a Canon TI6 Rebel camera to shoot all of my pictures, and I used my phone in order to be able to text my friends and coordinate with Gus. Overall, this project means a lot to me. I love fashion, and I love the fashion industry, and being able to bring that into my media studies project was really amazing. Thank you.